What's up? It's Austin from the Sin House podcast. Today, just going to be making a short video. It's about a week overdue, but talking about some of the NBA draft decisions, some of the decisions by the players that were on the borderline if they were going to go to the NBA or stay in college, and how that's going to affect the players or the teams in college if they opted to go back, teams in college if they opted not to come back, and just stuff like that. So we got a list of about 16 guys that we're going to hit today. So we'll get it started here with Adou Thiero. He decides to leave Arkansas and go to the NBA draft. In terms of Adou Thiero himself, I mean, he's got a good NBA game, good NBA wing size. I mean, really showcased his talent at Arkansas. He was the best player for Arkansas on a team that made the Sweet 16. And obviously, it's going to be a big loss for Arkansas. Nothing that I don't think is too, it's not impossible for them to bounce back from that, but definitely, a loss for them. A guy that was their leading scorer, really, just the leader of the team. So yeah, he leaves to go to the NBA. Where he gets drafted, I'm not fully sure. Probably around, if I had to guess, somewhere from about 30 to 40, maybe a little bit higher, a little bit lower, but we'll see. I'm not going to say if these guys made the right decisions or not. I'm not talking to the NBA coaches, GMs like these guys are, so you never know. But, in terms of Arkansas, definitely a little bit of a loss, but nothing that I don't think that they shouldn't be able to bounce back from. Same thing with this next guy, Jamir Watkins, decides to leave Florida State and enter the NBA draft. Watkins is a guard that I like. I like his game a lot in terms of an NBA play style. Leaves Florida State. That wasn't a good basketball team last year. I don't really see them projecting to be, a whole lot better. I don't think they'll be just come out of nowhere here for this season. Again, a big loss, but I don't think Florida State was really going to be good anyways. So, Watkins, in terms of range-wise, again, probably somewhere, 40 or 35 to 45 maybe. Again, that's not, I'm not drafting him. I'm not an NBA GM, so I have no idea. But somewhere around that range. For Florida State, decent loss, not huge. Again, next guy, Tyrese Proctor, decides to leave Duke and go to the NBA draft. A guy that, it's kind of been, I thought he was going to go to the NBA after his freshman year, stuck around for his sophomore year. Then he stuck around for his junior year. Why not make it one more? But no, leaves after his junior year to go to the NBA draft. Again, a guy that I think should go around Jamir Watkins' range. That's a fairly substantial loss for Duke, a team that does project to be good. That's going to be losing their point guard, their distributor, kind of running the offense. So that's going to be a big loss for Duke. Now, I think that they can rebound since they are Duke. But that's definitely going to be a little bit of a loss for them. As I'm sure they would love to have a guy like Proctor, who at the end of last season, through the ACC tournament and March Madness, was shooting the ball fantastic. One of them, I know they were extremely talented, but it helped them a lot get to the Final Four. Big loss for Duke, obviously. It'd be interesting to see where he goes in the NBA draft. But moving on to R.J. Lewis, a guy that I thought was very dominant in college. Obviously, the Big East Player of the Year, and decides to leave to go to the NBA draft. A guy that I thought could really just take over a college game last season. Where will he go in the NBA draft? Honestly, I have no idea. I'd probably expect around that same range as some of these other guys that we've been talking about. But that's a huge loss. I know he was in the transfer portal right after whatever happened with that benching incident or whatnot. But so he wasn't technically, if he said he'd come back to college, he was in the transfer portal, so not technically for sure going to come back to St. John's or whatever. But St. John's, that's a big loss. Obviously, you lose the Conference Player of the Year. Now I think they've rebounded well, and I like the roster moving into next season with Ian Jackson and Sanon. But whenever you lose the Conference Player of the Year, it's gonna be a tough loss. Next guy, LeBaron Philon, comes back to Alabama. I mean, this is one of the bigger gets out of all these guys. Bama is able to get back LeBaron Feinlon, comes back and is immediately on breakout alert for Alabama. I know they added Bethea, but Mark Sears is gone. So, I mean, Feinlon could really step up. I liked Feinlon's game a lot in terms of an NBA perspective. Just a guard that, I mean, can really do it all. But he comes back to Alabama, and immediately, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up being one of the better players in the entire country, one of the better guards in the entire country. You know, coming back to Alabama elevates them significantly, so that's a huge get for them. Next guy, kind of similar to Hod Pettiford for Auburn. Very, very grateful that he came back. But Pettiford, again, along like Phylon, I thought that they were both going to leave. They were both projected in mock drafts around the first round, so kind of thought, you know, definitely a high percentage chance that they go to the NBA draft, but nope. Both come back, and Todd Pettiford, again, immediately on breakout watch. You know, he only averaged 11 points a game for Auburn last year, but, you know, he didn't even start, right? He should be the guy, or at least one of the guys for Bruce Pearl this year, and immediately on breakout alert. Could be one of the best guards in the country, better players in the country. So, huge get for Auburn. Again, I think that elevates them a lot in terms of just their potential with a lead guard that can really be one of the better players in the country. Next guy, Alex Condon, decides to come back to Florida. Huge get for them. You know, they're coming off a national championship. They return one of those guys that was on the team, a big contributor, a starter. Condon, you know, kind of a do-it-all forward, can play. You know, Florida's saying that they're going to play this 3 big lineup. Who knows? But, you know, Condon can play the 4, the 5. I guess can play the 3. I don't know. But versatile forward. And he comes back to Florida. That's a really big get for them. Just elevates their front court. Gives them pretty much the same front court as last year. A lot of depth in that front court again. I mean, it pretty much sustains Florida as a top 5 team in the preseason. So, yeah, that's an absolutely huge get for Florida there. Next guy, Yaxel Lindeborg. He comes back to Michigan, not UAB where he was, but he transfers to Michigan, but stays out of the NBA draft. This is a guy in Yaxel that, I mean, I thought he was for sure going to go to the NBA just because, I mean, I liked his game a lot from an NBA perspective. I thought the NBA scouts would be, you know, I thought the NBA scouts would really like him, and he would get pushed up the board. But he comes back to Michigan, and there's a chance he's one of the best players in the country. You know, there's a chance he should be first team all Big Ten. I think he can rival anybody in that conference. I know Braden Smith, Trey Kaufman-Renn getting a lot of hype right now for Purdue. I think he can rival anybody in that conference for Player of the Year. This is a guy who immediately elevates Michigan to a Final Four contender if some of the other pieces go right. I mean, Yaxel's a guy that you can really run your offense through. 6'10", can play the 3, the 4, or the 5, honestly. I mean, small ball 5, probably best at the 4. But, I mean, he's a guy that comes in, extremely elevates Michigan. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what he does. I mean, it is going to be a little bit of a move from UAB to Michigan, the level of play. But, I mean, again, I think he could be one of the best players in the country next season for Michigan. So that's a huge gift for them. Next guy, Milos Uzan. I mean, arguably the biggest get on this list. Maybe not, but he's definitely up there just because I think he's the best point guard in the country this next season. I know that might seem crazy. A lot of people think it's going to be Braden Smith. A lot of people think Braden Smith is probably going to be the National Player of the Year, or I mean, one of the main front runners for it. But I think Uzan is just, I think he's a complete player, and I think he's a proven winner, right? And I think that's, I mean, he goes back to Houston, who, in my opinion, right now is the preseason #1 team with this get. Just a guy who can run the offense, score, defend. He does everything that you need and to help winning, right? He played in the national championship last year. Just a guy that he comes back to Houston, and they're immediately in the conversations for the #1 spot. You know, might not show up all in the stat sheet, but a guy that just impacts winning so much, can score, defend, distribute. So, I mean, I think he's going to be one of the best players in the country. I think he's a surefire top 5 player in the country next season. So obviously that is a huge, huge get for Houston. Next guy, Otega Owe, comes back to Kentucky. A guy that I think a lot of people are going to have as their preseason SEC Player of the Year. Right? Huge get for Kentucky. I mean, probably stamps them as a preseason top 10 team in the country. With the pieces they have around him. But Otega Owe was a guy that I thought was going to go to the NBA as well, just because I thought the 3-and-D wing kind of mold of a player was just such a NBA level type skill set. So I thought he was for sure gonna go, but he decides to come back to Kentucky, and I mean that's a huge get for Kentucky. Again, one of the best players in the conference last season. Expect to jump this season to be probably the best player, if not one of the best players in not only the conference but in the country. So I mean that elevates Kentucky to being a national title team with him being the star player. His defense is just insane if you haven't seen it. Truly a lockdown defender in my opinion, and can score as well. So huge get for Kentucky there. Should be one of the best players in the country this next season. Next guy, Drake Powell, decides to leave UNC and go to the NBA draft. A guy that he didn't really play a whole lot last year, so it's kind of interesting. Obviously highly touted coming out of high school. UNC gets him. Not struggles. He didn't really play a whole lot, right? Not as much, not significant minutes. Like, he was on the court, but he wasn't playing 20 minutes, wasn't starting, anything like that. But now in boards, he seems to be rising incredibly, maybe even into the first round, which is kind of crazy. For UNC, right, it's not a huge loss. He wasn't, you probably expected a jump if he came back, but he didn't, he contributed, but it wasn't it wasn't even a starter. So, not a huge loss for UNC. Drake Powell is a guy that is going to be very interesting to see where he goes, because he could go, it's high. He could creep into the first round, 25 to 30, or it could end up in the second round. It's just going to be interesting to see where he falls. Next guy, Carter Knox, comes back to Arkansas. Arkansas loses to Duthiero, as we mentioned earlier. They get back Carter Knox, the freshman, will be sophomore next year. And Knox is a guy that I think is on breakout alert as well as some of these other, like Pettiford, Philon, some of these other freshmen that are coming back. I think he's on breakout alert as well. Again, 6'8", around forward, that I think has all the skill set to become an elite player in the SEC. Again, very NBA molded body skill set. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how he plays. Again, I think he could be on breakout alert and end up as one of the better players in the SEC. Granted that he'll probably be one of the number one options for Arkansas this year. So yeah, that's a big get for Arkansas. Next guy, Cedric Cowards, was in the transfer portal from Washington State, commits to Duke while remaining in the NBA draft, and he decides to go into the NBA draft. A guy that is rising very highly on boards. I've seen him as high as in the lottery. Obviously, if you want to count that as a loss for Duke, even though they never technically had him, I guess, whatever. But Coward is a guy that I think could go very high. Just granted, his frame, skill set, what he kind of showed. He played 7 games or something like that at Washington State before getting injured. So very small sample set to go off of here from this past season. But averaged 17 points a game or something like that. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes. I think he's the type of guy that NBA scouts are going to like and is going to rise up boards. But we'll see. Next guy, Darion Williams, is staying in college. I thought Darion, he was he was first team all Big 12 last season, and he's staying in college. Not at Texas Tech, though. He transfers to NC State to play with Will Wade. Again, I think that elevates NC State to being one of the better teams in the ACC. They're not going to be Duke. They're not going to be Louisville. Those are top preseason top 10 teams. But I think outside of that, I mean, I think they're fighting with any of the other teams you want to put in that conversation for that next tier. Darion Williams, I mean, I think he's an elite college player. I think he'll be one of the best players in the country. Can pass, can score, can shoot, can rebound, defend. I mean, he does a little bit of everything. So huge get for Will Wade and NC State out of the transfer portal there after Darion Williams decides to come back to college. Had a poor combine, so I mean, kind of expected that he was coming back, but he comes back, and it's going to be a big get for Will Wade and NC State. Next guy, PJ Haggerty, one of the most prolific scorers in the country last season at Memphis, decides to come back in college, but not going to play for Memphis. He'll be playing for Kansas State, Jerome Tang. I think it's a big get for Kansas State. Say what you want about whatever is going on at Kansas State. PJ Haggerty's a good player, right? There's kind of been, the jokes or whatever, but Haggerty's going to elevate the team for sure. You saw, Haggerty was one of the best scorers in the country last season at Memphis. Comes to Kansas State, should replicate that. Should have the ball in his hands a lot. Should be able to. Is going to be the number one option. Going to get a ton of shots. Should see about the same type of season there from PJ Haggerty after deciding to come back to college and not go into the NBA draft. And last guy, Mackenzie Mbako, decides to come back to college, but again, new team, playing for Texas A&M this year. Mbako was playing really well at the combine. Again, this was a guy who was very highly coveted out of high school. Didn't really work out very well in his 2 seasons at Indiana. Transfers to Texas A&M where he's going to play this upcoming season. I think, again, breakout alert. He has all the tools, has the frame, has the skill set, I think. He's going to be playing in the buckyball system where it's going to be a lot of offense. I think he could really be a breakout alert. I know that Texas A&M just did get Pop Isaacs, but Mbako, I think, could be a great complementary piece on this team. Can score a little bit, defend a little bit. I think his skill set's going to be it's going to be well shown in the Texas A&M system. But yep, that's going to do it for this video. Hope you enjoy, like, subscribe, and we'll keep you updated on all things sports.